Palm Beach Police Investigation Report 2005. This report was created by detectives from the Palm Beach Police Department after a mother reported that her 14-year-old daughter had been paid to give a massage to Jeffrey Epstein. What investigators discovered. During the investigation, police interviewed multiple teenage girls who described a similar pattern. 1. Girls were recruited by friends. 2. They were told they could earn $200 or more for a massage. 3. The massages often turned sexual. Evidence recorded in the report. Detectives documented names of several teenage victims, statements describing sexual contact during massages, reports that girls were encouraged to recruit other girls. This became known as a pyramid-style recruitment system. Why this document matters. The police believed the evidence supported multiple felony charges, including sexual abuse of a minor, soliciting prostitution, human trafficking. However, the case later became controversial because federal prosecutors pursued a different legal path. Palm Beach Police Chief Memorandum. The police chief at the time, Michael Ryder, wrote a formal memorandum criticizing how the case was being handled by federal prosecutors. Key points from the memo. Chief Ryder stated that the evidence showed Epstein had abused multiple underage girls. The crimes had occurred over several years. The investigation identified several victims and witnesses. Conflict with federal prosecutors. The memo described frustration that the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the U.S. Attorney's Office were considering a much lighter plea agreement. Ryder believed Epstein should face serious federal charges, a long prison sentence. Historical importance. This memo later became major evidence of prosecutorial controversy when Epstein received a lenient plea deal. FBI Evidence Log, 2006. When federal agents joined the investigation, the Federal Bureau of Investigation created an official evidence log cataloging items taken during the investigation. Items recorded in the evidence log. Investigators documented the seizure of computer hard drives, digital cameras, photographs, address books, phone records, financial documents. Digital evidence. Agents believe computers might contain email communications, photographs, contact lists, travel arrangements. Importance of the log. Evidence logs are critical because they show what investigators collected, where the evidence came from, who handled the evidence. This ensures chain of custody, which is necessary for evidence to be used in court. Federal Non-Prosecution Agreement, 2008. This agreement is one of the most controversial legal documents in the Epstein case. It was negotiated between Epstein's lawyers and the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Florida. Key terms of the agreement. Under the deal, Epstein would avoid federal charges. He would plead guilty to state prostitution charges. Federal prosecutors agreed not to prosecute Epstein's associates. Sentence. Epstein was sentenced to 18 months in county jail, work release privileges allowing him to leave jail during the day. Why the agreement became controversial? Critics argued that victims were not informed about the deal. The punishment was extremely lenient. Potential accomplices received legal protection. The agreement later became the subject of major legal challenges. Victim impact statements. Victim impact statements were submitted by several victims before Epstein was sentenced. These statements allowed victims to describe how the abuse affected their lives. Common themes described by victims. Victims reported emotional trauma, depression and anxiety, difficulty trusting people, long-term psychological effects. Importance in the legal process. Victim statements are used by judges to understand the human impact of the crimes, the severity of harm suffered. These statements became some of the most powerful documents in the case because they gave voice to the victims.
Absolutely, Mark. Here's a clear, detailed breakdown of verified Epstein documents 16 to 20, covering the second half of your 11 to 20 set. This is fully detailed for your report or research. Verified Epstein documents. Detailed report, 16 to 20. Number 16, Palm Beach Mansion Search Inventory. This document is the official inventory of items seized from Epstein's Palm Beach mansion during the investigation. Key items recorded: computers and hard drives, digital cameras, photographs, potential evidence of victims or recruitment, massage tables, and other physical setup for alleged abuse, phone and contact lists, appointment and scheduling logs, financial records and payment slips. Significance: establishes what investigators had in evidence, provides chain of custody documentation for court, shows the scale and organization of Epstein's operations. Epstein Island records, Little St. James. Official property documents confirm Epstein's ownership of Little St. James Island in the U.S. Virgin Islands. What's included? Purchase agreements and deeds, corporate structures holding the property, construction permits and building records. Features of the island: main residence and guest houses, dock and marina, security and staff quarters, a small temple-like structure. Importance: explains how Epstein controlled the island, critical for civil lawsuits and asset tracking. Helps investigators understand financial and operational control. Number 18. Maxwell Trial Exhibits, 2021. During the federal trial of Ghislaine Maxwell, prosecutors introduced these documents as evidence. Contents: emails between Epstein and Maxwell, flight logs showing travel of victims and associates, financial records related to payments and travel, photographs and related exhibits, victim testimonies submitted as exhibits. Why it matters: demonstrates Maxwell's role in recruiting victims, shows the operational structure of Epstein's network, formed part of the evidence for her conviction on sex trafficking and conspiracy. Number 19. Epstein Jail Death Report, 2019. This document is the official investigation report into Epstein's death at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York City. Findings: security cameras malfunctioned near Epstein's cell. Guards failed to perform safety checks. Epstein had been removed from suicide watch days prior. 2 guards were reportedly asleep or distracted. Conclusion: death ruled suicide by hanging. Widespread controversy due to security lapses and procedural failures. 20. U.S. Virgin Islands civil lawsuit evidence. The government of the U.S. Virgin Islands filed civil lawsuits against Epstein's estate and associated entities. Evidence included bank transfers and financial records, property and corporate ownership documents, internal company communications, evidence tracking how Epstein funded operations. Purpose: to identify financial wrongdoing, to hold banks or entities accountable for ignoring suspicious activity. Forms the basis of settlements and asset recovery efforts.